Did Caleb Williams lower his draft stock or cement himself as the top pick at the Combine? This is the Pat McAfee Show. So Caleb Williams is all up in the news for all the wrong reasons. So he goes to the Combine. He decides, I'm not throwing, I'm not running, I'm not doing a medical, I'm not doing nothing. All he basically did was cut promos. He just talked, he did interviews, he did press conferences, and they really did kind of sound like wrestling promos. And not exactly the babyface kind. It was kind of the heel promos. Caleb Williams definitely drew a line in the sand. A lot of people were rubbed the wrong way by it. I'm interested to hear what Pat McAfee has to say because former NFL player, he knows how coaches are. He knows how players are. He knows how locker rooms are. So he may be able to provide a little insight on what a rookie quarterback needs going into an NFL locker room.
The Chicago Bears are obviously the topic of conversation with everybody. Adam Schefter will be joining us in 16 minutes was on Pardon My Take. Barstool Big Cat on at Barstool Big Cat. Dan Katz, massive Chicago Bears Bear fan, puts the pressure on Schefter and basically says, what's going to happen? And he says, like, pretty much the Bears are taking Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I have heard about Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Him not throwing, no big deal. Andrew Luck didn't throw. Joe Burrow didn't throw.
Agreed. The physical part, like him throwing, him running, him doing the 40, all that, he doesn't have to do that. Like, that's where we're at in today's day and age. Just like not going to the Senior Bowl or whatever else. The really good players, Marvin Harrison Jr., he doesn't have to run the 40. The 40 is completely irrelevant to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s draft stock. We don't need Drake May or Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels doing any of that. What they did in college is enough for them to get drafted where they're going to get drafted. So I don't blame Caleb Williams for not throwing or running or working out or any of that.
Kyler Murray didn't throw. I think RG3 actually didn't throw. And if you go way back, Peyton Manning didn't throw. Now, Patrick Mahomes threw, Tom Brady threw, C.J. Stroud threw, a lot of Lamar Jackson threw, a lot of people that have...
Yeah, but all the people he named were not like the no doubt about it #1 overall pick. Of course, Tom Brady threw. He didn't even know if he'd be drafted. You know, so of course Lamar Jackson threw. He was trying to prove that he could throw. He was trying to prove that he should be drafted as a quarterback. At that time, people were trying to draft Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. They were trying to draft him as a wide receiver.
Had success, have also thrown. Like, I think Drake May should have thrown, personally, because he's like 3. Is he? Is he 2? Boy. Who knows? Is he 4? Is he 5? Because J.J. McCarthy's moving. We're big fans of Drake May. From what Darius Butler said about hanging out with him, like, he's a competitive dude. I was hoping that Drake May would say, I'm not going to throw, get on the field, kind of see what everybody's doing. You know what? I am going to spin it a little bit. I was hoping that would take place. He didn't. He'll have his workout. Nobody's holding it against him. You just kind of keep it moving. But with Caleb Williams, what I've learned is, hey, this dude loves ball.
Whoa.
That's what everybody has said, that they come out from talking to him. Now, his teammates are saying the same thing. People are saying the same thing. It's like, obviously, there's going to be a lot of talk about a guy who's being heralded as one of the greatest prospects in the history.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, as far as just a prospect, Caleb Williams is one of the 5 best I've seen going #1 overall. Like, if you're looking for a generational quarterback, he's right there prospect-wise with the Cam Newtons and the Jamarcus Russell and players like that.
Of the NFL, especially whenever he's playing in Los Angeles.
And by the way, if you're sitting there saying Jamarcus Russell, James, he was a huge bust. Jamarcus Russell, for a long time now, has been considered having the greatest pro day in the history of college prospects, in the history of the draft process. And if you're thinking about it, Jamarcus Russell at the time physically was the greatest quarterback specimen you could have ever asked for. He was throwing the ball 90 yards. I mean, the guy was doing some unbelievable things. And like I said, at his pro day, he looked like Dan Marino. So, you can't look at the bust part. We're talking strictly prospect.
He transfers to USC. He's already won a Heisman. He is who he is. He's very independent. There's going to be people that talk about him because this is the NFL's next one, potentially. But everybody said, his competitive drive, how much he loves ball, is going to be the thing that nobody's really talking about publicly. That is the reason why he is the can't-miss prospect at #1.
If that's true, and I'm not the Chicago Bears. I'm not having the conversations with Caleb Williams. If he truly does love ball, and you can certainly get that in a conversation, I would hope so. I would hope the draft process for the Bears allows them to glean that. If that is true, I would take him in an absolute heartbeat. I'd take him in an absolute heartbeat. I'd have no questions about it. The only question with Caleb Williams is, where is he at mentally? Is he surrounded by yes men? Is the NIL and all that stuff Is it too much? Is he too independent? Because it is an NFL team. And if you're an NFL franchise, you are looking for someone to come in there, compete, lead men, be the franchise quarterback, the face of the franchise, be the person to take responsibility. You can't have a quarterback who wants to beat to his own drum and wants to buck authority and do things his own way all the time. That's okay. You don't have to be a good little soldier. You can have some personality. That's totally fine. 100%, that's fine. But as long as his dedication and passion and all that is football, I would 100% take this guy. 100%.
Now, he's 6'1", he said, 6'2", 215, 205. Chose not to do any of the medical, which could potentially slow up the Justin Fields trade potentially out of Chicago, because are they certain that Caleb Williams is okay? Is there a reason he didn't do the medical? Is there something wrong that people don't find? Who knows? But the thing that I got from damn near everybody around there was like, Caleb Williams loves ball, and that is all anybody seemingly cares about. Ty, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's just interesting, too, because you look at all the stuff that people were saying, and it's one thing, that you hear about.
Us, too, we were wondering.
Yeah, exactly. And you hear about, like, his personality and, like, oh, is this guy kind of standoffish? Is he very L.A. and, like, all about the glitz and the glamour and kind of not everything else? But just based on what you saw on Twitter and what he did do at the Combine, like, stand-up guy, didn't give off the impression. Again, it's a job interview, so it's not, you'd have to be kind of crazy to go in there and just be a prick to everyone. But some of these guys in the position, like, absolutely could do that. But he was, it gave off or exuded the vibe, like, hey, this guy could be the one to run a franchise. Like, he's.
There you go. Like that. I'm telling you, I take that. That to me is weighted so much more than all these people on Twitter who are saying that Caleb Williams is, has a bad attitude and he's all about himself and he's LA and he's glitz and glamour, and they're just taking the easy narrative, the lazy narrative. If people from the Combine who are actually involved are saying this and they're all saying the same thing, that's all I really need to hear. I don't. The rest of it, it is what it is. And let me say this too. You do have to put stock in the idea of, like, okay, how is this prospect, especially a quarterback, how is this prospect going to gel in this locker room? If you've got a prospect who's a can't-miss prospect like Caleb Williams, and you're talking to him and you're getting the idea in your head, like, man, this guy is not going to gel well with the team. He is not going to try and lead the team. This is not, the personalities do not match. If that's the situation, which it sounds like this is not, but if that was the situation, that would sway me as a GM, because you need him to play good, no doubt. You need him to pick up the offense, learn the schemes, physically play well, no doubt. But you also equally need him to lead that locker room, and you equally need him to be the face of your franchise and be the leader. That is part of drafting a quarterback in the first round, and that's definitely part of drafting a quarterback first overall. So, it's unfair for the quarterbacks that they have to go through that. Outside linebackers don't, left tackles don't, quarterbacks do. It's part of the gig. Sounds like to the people who matter, Caleb Williams passed with flying colors. And I liked him as a prospect. Like I said, he was a top 5 prospect I've ever seen coming out of college. I already liked him. If you're telling me that this positive, even more positive, that he's got this, like, he loves ball and he's passionate about it, and he's an upstanding guy and he's a leader, I love it.
He's a good dude. When leading up to it, like, that's kind of all it's been so far. You just mentioned it. Yeah, baggage. Character assassination, like, and again, is that something where your other teams are trying to get him to?
I was just about to say that. To Don Mattingly over here in the Yankees hat. You always have to remember that draft season is synonymous with lying season. Is it a team leaking that out to the reporters, hoping that it'll scare the Bears and possibly Caleb Williams could slide? Don't get it twisted. 100%. A team sitting at 2 or 3 or 4 would leak that information to try and lower the idea of Caleb Williams first overall. So when you hear those rumors, you got to take him with a grain of salt.
To maybe drop down so they can get him at 2 or 3 or wherever. We'll find out. But in terms of not throwing, it seems like he won the combine as much as he could for what he did decide to do while he was there.
Now, we saw Peter Schrager tweet there about him sticking around and shaking everybody's hands that ran the event. That's like Colts equipment managers. Every time you see a guy get hit in the face, that's Powers. He's been an equipment manager for the Colts for a long time, since my time back there. Frog T, everybody's kind of running the drills. The last player, he shook everybody's hand. Okay, so you say that's choreographed bullshit. All right, maybe. Laura Rutledge then puts out a tweet, says, hey, whenever he stopped by NFL Live, literally shook everybody's hand on the set. Well, that's just bullshit. Maybe.
Sounds like it might just be who he is. I mean, if multiple people are saying this, if you've got multiple people who are actually there saying the same thing, and then you've got a completely unsubstantiated anonymous source saying that he's a diva, you kind of have to trust the people who are actually there going through this, all the different people saying the exact same thing. It sounds like this is just who Caleb Williams is.
I don't know. Robert Mathis from Gridiron Gang, he posted a picture and he said Caleb Williams, when he was in town, came and met with some high school kids that are currently in the Gridiron Gang Academy pretty much, which I am very lucky to be a part of. I give us $100,000 in sponsorships and scholarships to guys to go work out with Robert Mathis and Dan Muir, who are giving pro-level camps to people that would have never had the opportunity to have those types of camps. Caleb Williams stopped by. So it's like coming to Indianapolis, aside from not doing the medical, not doing a workout, and even if it is all bullshit, at least he's putting in the effort to do all the right things.
Right.
Well, and also it's like, why would he do this if it wasn't real? He's going first overall. He doesn't have to go hang out with Indianapolis high school kids to get taken first overall. Indy doesn't have the first overall pick. He doesn't have to shake Laura Rutledge and the NFL Live's crew's hands to get taken first overall. You know, Laura Rutledge isn't the GM of the Bears. So, to me, easy sell. Like, again, this could sound bad in a couple of years, could age like milk, but to me, it sounds like this is just who Caleb Williams is, and it's part of his makeup. And I'll tell you this too: whenever he was getting crucified for crying after the game, and he went into the stands and was like hugging his mom and his dad or whatever, the shot that everyone showed, a lot of people were saying like they didn't like that. They didn't like him showing that emotion. I loved that. I thought that was amazing. I thought you want a player that has that much passion, that has that much emotion going through them, that, also is so emotionally mature that they're okay knowing that all these cameras are on them and they're going to go have that moment with their family. I loved that back when it happened in college. So, yeah, I like what I'm hearing.
And if he's going to do that as a quarterback in the NFL, it's like, even if it's all bullshit, if he's putting in the effort to do all the right things, I'm cool with it, because you can see those and you can say, well, that was all choreographed, premeditated.
Yeah, hey, spoiler, most of what's happening in celebrities and pro sports or whatever is choreographed. You think blank quarterback wants to go to some charity event? No. You think blank quarterback wants to do this? No. They're doing it because it's all show. So that happens too.
That's not real. It's like, well, at least he's doing all the not real shit.
Hey,
that's
get it.
Exactly. Like this is good news to me in my eyes. And I think Caleb Williams, from my preconceived thoughts about shut up, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of that. Yeah. When his team and his family were saying he won't go to these teams, he won't do this. It's like, bro, there's been a lot of Heisman winners who have come into the NFL. There's been 100+ years of NFL football. Ratings are higher than ever. There's no offense. There has been a Caleb Williams or 3 or 10 that have come through the NFL before. That was my initial thoughts when you hear the family speak. But from everything.
No, and you also got to, for sure, I was in the same boat, because we're in a different world. This is an NIL situation where all of a sudden the family now, if Caleb Williams is making a couple $1 million a year, the family now is sitting there. Caleb Williams has been almost $10 million in the bank. So it probably is a bunch of yes men. It probably is, this player is the greatest player of all time. This player is doing this. This player is that. He's worth this. He's worth that. Yeah, probably. I don't blame him. It's a lot different with college players who were still sleeping in the spare bedroom at their parents' house as they're winning the Heisman Trophy. It's different now. These guys are multi-millionaires, superstars with enormous following. So he may have had to corral his family or whoever was talking, because there was some insane stuff coming out last year about him wanting equity in the team that he was drafted to and all that. So
thing that Caleb Williams has done, and who knows if the family's even said the things in the context in which they have been relayed. It's like, I'm a big fan of the guy, and I can't wait to see what happens with him. He DC guy. Commanders are at number 2. They're thinking there's a chance that the Commanders are going to try to like sell everything to go get him at 1. But from my learning, from my experience, big weekend for Caleb Williams, the human, as opposed to Caleb Williams, the diva, which is potentially some people's thoughts beforehand.
Yeah, and like what Ty said, like the character assassination, like I think the reaction to all those things shows how much damage was already done to him.
Yeah,
like
100%.
from his last game till now.
It works, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever I say that, people are always like, that doesn't really happen. Teams don't leak that. It's not that big of a deal. It is. I'm not saying the Commanders leaked that, but let's say the Commanders did. Okay, let's just make a hypothetical. If the Commanders leaked it, that Caleb Williams is a diva, Caleb Williams is this, that has been all the talk. That has been the narrative since he finished his career at USC, was that he's selfish, a diva, he's this, he's that. That's all you've heard. So it goes to show you when that groupthink happens, it really does work. It is a very lethal strategy, 100%. And these are billion-dollar cutthroat owners and teams that they would 100% do something like that.
Now, and like you're telling me he went to Robert Mathis and he was like, "Get your phone out, bitch, take a photo so everyone can see me with these high school kids." Like, I don't think that's what he's doing, but even just him messing around, like I think Brendan Rice, he was on the podium and he was given his interviews as all the players do, and Caleb Williams went into the crowd and like asked him a question, just screwing around, like
who
even
his
that
dad
kind of like just joke, who his father was, like even just joking around, like stuff like that. I feel like is huge, and like for him too, it feels like a done deal. Like this is over.
Oh yeah, he's going 1.
All the BS that.
Let me tell you this: he's going 1. It's up to Washington. At this point now, if you're Washington, you tried. If you did do the leak or whatever. At this point now, it's like you got to trade up. You got to trade up if you want him. There's no way the Bears pass on Caleb Williams.
Came with Caleb and everything like that. Like, excuse me.
1 for 1.
1 for 1. I wasn't trying to spin it. That was just me moving it. I wasn't trying to spin it. You cannot count that as me dropping the pen on a spin. I was just moving it. But with that being said,
Connor likes to play drums on a microphone.
No, I don't. No, I don't like to.
Double bass.
No, I don't like to do it.
Now this is new you.
Sometimes, yeah, exactly. This is 2023 season, Connor, okay? And granted, the season really doesn't end until the draft, but we're on to 2024, okay? It is a whole different time. I'm not going to drop the pen. Forget about it, okay? But it does feel like Caleb's done, right? Like this, he is the first overall pick.
Yes.
There will be stuff. I mean, it's March 4th. From now till April 29th, there will be things that, have him fluctuate. We need to remember that so that if he ever becomes plus odds, gambling-wise, we can hammer him.
I don't think he will. I think if he survived this, I think he's fine. If he survives the combine, if he survives all that, and the narrative's there, he's fine. I don't think he's not slipping. He's not slipping. Bottom line, 100%.
Because that happened last year with Stroud and Bryce Young, if you remember, where Stroud was the heavy favorite and Bryce Young was plus.
Yeah, but that was a legitimate competition. There is not a legitimate competition between. There is not another quarterback. Like the only way that Caleb Williams doesn't go 1. People thought was that if the Bears want to stick with Fields, and then the Bears might maneuver around. But if a quarterback goes 1, it's going to be Caleb Williams.
Plus money, granted, who knows how that.
Yeah, like one of these pro days, if Jaden goes out,
yes,
and it is massive.
Bingo.
And then Caleb something, comes out.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, something comes out, and people start leaning like, oh, maybe Jaden, who wasn't supposed to be top pick, is now the top guy, and the sports books bite on
not
it.
Happening.
Let's remember that.
Hammer Caleb.
Nah.
Let's remember that it's Caleb.
Yeah, because he's the guy.
Unless something medical-wise does come out,
Right.
which could be legit, which happens.
Well, and to that point, you had mentioned it about him not doing it at the combine, and that could slow some things up. But I saw this morning that the Bears already put him on the top 30 visit list, and they're going to get that out of the way as quick as possible. So it seems like he's going to be there. And Ty was talking about like the whole LA thing. Like he transferred there probably that's where his head coach.
Yeah, if Lincoln Riley would have
chose
won the
Yeah, Lincoln Riley went to USC. Caleb followed him, wins the Heisman. Like that. Yeah, I mean, it's not. He's a Washington kid from DC, from the DC area, goes to Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley's churning out Heisman winner. That's who Lincoln Riley is. He leaves. Williams follows him. That makes total sense.
Omaha.
Yeah, he chose to go to Oklahoma. Like that's where he chose to win. Yeah. And then I saw a tweet on the internet which was doing very well about how there's 700 million barbers in LA. And Caleb has not gotten cleaned up. You could tell since the season is ending. That man's been at work.
Yeah,
that man's been working on football.
I mean, the way they talked about, like, hey, you should hear the way his teammates describe him, like, because they're doing
huge.
That's usually a tell. If your teammates are all about you when they don't have to be, And that's usually a good sign.
They're doing interviews with the teammates. They're doing interviews with like equipment managers. You should hear like how athletic trainers talk about this guy. Like the way they're talking about like him is like he's legit. Don't worry about all the. Yeah. He's a superstar.
There you
like
go.
He's going to be the number one pick in the NFL. There's going to be some sort of shit that's going to come with it, but everything about him. I just hope that he has the ability to play the same way he played in college in the NFL.
Same.
Now, if he doesn't,
Same.
he'll just adjust because he's competitive, loves ball. He'll be able to do it. But if he can be as elusive as he was in college ball in the NFL,
and he can spin it. Love watching him play. I'm rooting for him. I'm a believer. Let me know in the comments below if you're a believer. What do you think about Caleb Williams at the draft or at the combine and all of that? Where you come down on this? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.